Yo, what it is, everybody, and thanks for tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. We got the new bike, the Suzuki GSXR1000R here behind me, and you're probably asking, yo, you just got this bike, why is it already up on the stand? What's wrong with it already? Well, it's too damn slow. So, we about to start race prepping it and making this thing fast and starting to have some fun. So, let me give you a little bit of background on what we're going to do to it. Starting it off. Bike is damn near good the way it comes out of the factory. And I'm not going to lie, it is pretty good. But it ain't good enough and there's always room for improvement. So, what we're going to do, we got our friends over at Brock's Performance. And we're going to tune this bad boy up with some Brock's Performance parts. A little tongue twister right there. We're going to go with the full exhaust from Brock's. It's coming in. They're doing me some nice favors and hooking me up with some things here. We're going to go with the full exhaust, the Predator system exhaust. That's going to go on there because we got to get rid of the factory exhaust. Not that it's bad. It actually sounds pretty good with the way it is now, just with no muffler. But it also has a cat in it right now, so it also takes a little bit away from the raspiness. But we're going to do a full system Predator exhaust. We're going to get the ECU flashed, get rid of all the throttle restrictions and everything else like that. Get a nice streamlined fuel map in this bike so that it'll work great with our exhaust. And then we're going to go have some kick-ass fun with it. So the ECU flash, we're also going to have a nice fuel map built into the ECU. So no power commander, no pizzazz or anything like that that's going to be on this bike. This is all going to live solely within the ECU that's here in this bike. So what we got to do is we got to tear this damn thing apart. We got to get the fairings off from the left side, from the right side, get the seat off, get the tail section off, because all of these cables and everything that run down here for the servo run along the side of here, as if you could see. So all this has actually got to come out. We got to take this tail section back apart, which is no big deal because I did it when I took the original tail section off that you guys will probably see this video here shortly if I didn't already post it. I can't even remember. But take that rear tail section off. Get all the cables out. There's another servo cable up here for the front exhaust that connect two of the primaries in between there, obviously for torque management and optimal fuel ratios and runner designs and all these other things that work perfectly and well with the stock exhaust and play a great harmony. But for the new system, that's not going to be needed, and we obviously don't want to have any check engine lights or any engine codes or anything on the dash when we fire this thing up. So we got to start tearing this thing apart, get all my magnet trays, get my tools out so we can keep track of this thing, send this out. It'll probably take about a week or so. I got some business and stuff that I got to run and do some things like that, so we'll be able to get that out and get this thing flashed, and as soon as I get back, we'll put it all back together. So let's get this teardown going. Now, one thing I want to mention before I start and everything, it's a good thing to maybe take a picture if you're not familiar doing this or anything like that. Just to remember, obviously, of course, where all your nuts and bolts go so that you can put them back in the correct spot. Given the fact that me personally, I've owned quite a bit of Suzukis, this is pretty straightforward here with me. But this is a new generation bike, so I don't know exactly where all the new nuts and bolts go, but of course, taking a picture or the old method of tagging and bagging them will help you along the way with the guessing game, because there's going to be quite a few nuts and bolts that are going to come out of this bike. So just as a quick tip so that you're not sitting there guessing and you have to take a bunch of stuff back apart and figure out, hey, this is actually in the wrong area. So just a quick friendly tip. tip is when you're doing this, it doesn't matter if it's on the Suzuki, it doesn't matter if it's on the BMW, which you've seen me do many times, or on any of the Ducatis. When you're taking off the fairings and the plastics, just really make sure you take your time, because they're all held in by small little fasteners and clips, such as the Suzuki, and it's really no difference just where they all mount. It's just different, you know, based on per bike. Just make sure you really take your time, because the last thing you want to do is bust one of these fairings and one of these clips, because each one of those clips, I can't stress to tell you how important they are as far as keeping the fairing in place. Because when you're flying through the wind with this thing at 180 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour, every one of those clips is so important, and the last thing you want to do is have one of these things fly off and hit you or hit something else in the face. So just take your time, it'll come off. That's it, let's keep going. Let's get this exhaust off. So the next thing we got to do, eventually we got to take the rear tail section out to get the cables and the servo cables that are located in the ass of the bike here, and they come down and control this exhaust valve for emissions. And this one primarily controls it for sound at idle till they close it, usually when it's idling, and then obviously when it opens it allows it to flow and give you that sound that you're looking for, and as well with performance. Then you have another cross valve here, and that valve activates the open and close position between the headers and the primaries between cylinders 1 and 4, and it's optimized when you're going slow to create download torque. When you're going fast, you know, open it or close it depending on whatever Suzuki obviously recommends and has it programmed here into the computer for best performance with the stock exhaust. So because these servos and everything are electronically controlled and they're actually linked here, there's another servo cable that comes here. If I disconnect all these sensors and stuff, it's going to cause a check engine light here on the dash. And that's also one thing that's going to get taken out with our flash. So let's keep going and let's rip this shit apart. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that we have the headers and everything off, one thing that you probably did see me, I had a little piece of cardboard. Good preventative measure and stuff. I mean, you're gonna get a few nicks here and there, but you know, it's better than nothing. Rather than taking the radiator out, put a piece of cardboard here so when you're installing your new headers and you're touching it with your hands, it doesn't nick the fins. But now that we got the headers all off, the gaskets are in there. I'm not sure if the new exhaust reuses those gaskets or comes with some new ones, so we'll leave those in there for now. We got the oil cooler reservoir, oil cooler chilling there, just chilling right now. It's not mounted up to anything. The lines are holding it up, and of course all the tools and the nuts and bolts. It took me maybe about an hour or so to get the factory exhaust here off. I gotta take the O2 sensor off and keep this here on the side, even though it won't be reused. I'm gonna put the tail section here back together, solely because now that the actuator is taken out, here's the actuator and the cables that went to the bottom, and the new system will be coming along. We do have to take the gas tank off and plug up the valves here in the top of the cylinder head on the valve cover for the pair valve and the emission system, so that of course it runs correctly and gets everything the correct way that it's supposed to be doing, obviously with the new tune here from Brock's. But I think that is going to conclude it here for today's video. If y'all like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. This is episode part 1 here for the GSXR. We're going to do another video here for the pair valves for episode 2, and then of course obviously putting everything in the ECU flash and everything back together for another episode. So stay tuned for that. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll check you here for another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Deuces, y'all.